Great insights and interview there from Matt Dunlop as we see Formula V cars heading out to the grid for the first time this weekend. Alongside me, Mr. V's, it's Stephen De Vries. Welcome to the commentary box.
Thank you, Dan McCarthy. Thank you, everybody. And good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from around the world. We mentioned Germany a little while ago at the beginning of the show. And on top of that, this is a perfect segue because it's the home of the Volkswagen Group. And what is in the back of these Formula Vs? A Volkswagen motor.
Nice connection there, well pointed out as we can see the grid for this race. Reef McCarthy, championship leader, starting off pole position alongside the reigning champion Heath Collinson. He had a shocker in round one, we'll get to that a bit later on. On the second row, up-and-comer Andre Kurin alongside the returning Jake Rowe.
Jake Rowe back for the first time this season. Nick Jones out of position number 5 alongside Ash Clifford in the Star Res Sabre 02. Lee Partridge, and great to see Adam Slattery travelling over along with Hayden Slattery from South Australia, filling out position number 8, and then Nick Kerr in position number 9. And 10th position on the grid running order there was actually meant to be Zach Barton, so his name's just missing from that sheet, but he's filling in a car that belongs to the JRD stable with Damien Spinello from Acura Motorsport heading up their outfit with Samuk Rudrapatna in 12th.
As you see the rest of the grid come through, Josh Mumrow from 13th alongside Rob Vile, Brett Burden, and then Malachi Windsor ending at the top 16.
Charlie Tracy Richardson, who just had the interview with Matt Dunlop a few moments ago, there in 17th place with Brandon Taylor. He's a little bit out of position in 18th, so expect him to make up a few spots. Darren Power and Mick Fisher there rounding out the top 20 out of 24 starters. Thanks to GR Motorsport Electrics Online. Formula V Race 1 is going to be set for 25 minutes. This is going to be a marathon, Dan McCarthy. Very, very long race compared to what we had at Sandown about 2 months ago. So very much laser-like focus, and consistency is going to be very, very important in this 25-minute hit out.
Indeed, yeah, a couple of less categories this weekend means that the races can be a bit longer for the categories that are here. 10 categories last time, 8 categories this weekend. This is the first race of round number 2 here at Winton Motor Raceway in country Victoria, just waiting for the lights.
There was the 5-second board just being held out, so not too far away from a race start. Pole to McCarthy, and he doesn't get going at all. Looks like he missed the gear change from first to second. Heath Collinson had a much better reaction time, but he too has gone backwards. And it's Jake Rowe who surges to the lead ahead of Andre Kurin, with McCarthy looking for a little bit of room on the inside here, and also at the same time trying to fend off Nick Jones. And it looks like Adam Slattery was the one that was just offline there at turn 1 and 2.
We see McCarthy slots into 3rd position behind Kurin, so yeah, front row starters dropping back to 3rd and 5th respectively. And we can see number 96 Nick Jones in 4th position in between the pair in the yellow and pink machine.
Yeah, the car's had a little bit of a paint job over the last couple of months as well, so it's a little bit brighter than it's used to looking. McCarthy has a real late look at Andre Kurin down at turn 7. No room there, but he's going to try and hold it right around the outside. This puts you in prime position for turn 9. Takes away the apex from the number 32 Aussie Boat Sales entry and drives off in pursuit of Jake Rowe. That's a really, really good bit of heads-up driving there for McCarthy. Pass wasn't going to come off, but he knew he had the grip on the outside, even so early in the early going, to just trust the car, throw it in there, hold it right around the outside and make it stick.
You can see why he's the championship leader, can't you? Exactly, he knows the car inside and out. As we see Ash Clifford defending from car number 21. That's Nicholas Kerr into the last sequence of corners, turns 11 and turns 12. There might be 90-degree corners, but they're two of the most difficult on the race circuit.
Absolutely. One involves a very, very big stop and not a lot of time for the brakes to recover in time to stop again for turn number 12. Change for the lead. McCarthy hasn't wasted any time getting back to the front of the field. It's taken just one lap to recover those 2 spots lost and surge to the front of the field. Now, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not he can kick away from the field here. Talking to him in the paddock a little bit earlier in the morning, his tactics were to jump out in front, try and build a lead and try and insulate himself from attacks later in the race. So he's had a little bit of a setback. We'd like to see how he goes about his business now.
Yeah, it's interesting the way this track is compared to Sandown and Phillip Island. That's all about slipstreaming. Slipstream doesn't mean too much around Winton Motor Raceway, tight, twisty circuit. I mean, supercars, we don't even see them hit 6th gear at all around the circuit. The only track in the nation where that's the case for supercars. So it really is a slow average speed you can see around these tight, twisty hairpins at the back section of the circuit. Is that what we're talking about?
These are all 3rd gear corners up here as well. You only use 1st and 2nd gear in Formula V pretty much from getting away from the start line. Otherwise it's 3rd to 4th and then 4th back to 3rd. There's no point going down an extra cog to 2nd gear because you're just going to be changing up to 3rd almost straight away coming off corner exit. So that's why it might appear like these Formula Vs are a little bit slow around some parts of the circuit, but it's to their benefit because they don't lose time through that extra gear change. It's got absolutely no meaning whatsoever.
You can already see a few battle packs forming, groups breaking away from each other. So at the end of lap number 2, it is McCarthy that leads from row, and Curran is keeping up with them. He's following in hot pursuit, as I can see. Battle for 4th is well and truly on down into turn number 1. And that is Collinson that takes the place on Jones. But on the screen, we're looking at the battle a bit further down the field.
We are indeed. We're looking at Rob Vile, and he's fending off the advances here of John Casamati, who actually started towards the rear of the grid. He started out of plumb last. He actually had a pretty major incident at this part of the circuit yesterday where he tagged the wall with the left rear of the car and pretty much tore the wheel off it, and they had to put a whole new rear end in it. So he didn't partake in qualifying. He was sent to rear of grid, and he's making his way through right now, already up to 17th place. So this is a progressive grid format in Victorian State Circuit Racing. Where you finish the race you are in is where you start the next one. So for Johnny in this case, he's just got to focus on moving a bit further forward each and every race and then put himself back in position to be sort of in that top 10 for the last race of the weekend. Just to see how he goes. We'll see how far he can get.
Normally towards the front end of the field, isn't he? I mean, he won a race at Island Magic late last year, so yeah, certainly a front runner, and comes into this round 10th in the series. So yeah, certainly, as you say, aiming for around the top 10 at the end of this one to kick on the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's just got to move a bit forward in the next sort of couple of laps. He's probably targeting, I would say, to probably be around about 15th or 14th. That's probably what would be a realistic expectation in such a long race. But he's got a little bit of work to do to catch up to Rob Vile, who's about 2.5 seconds up the road. Further up the road from that little battle, there's some great action happening here with the first winner. For the first time he won last round out for Lee Partridge in 20 years. So he's got his hands full with Ash Clifford in the number 17 Star Res entry at the moment. And then the Silver Fox Racing, number 21 of Nick Kerr, trying to tag along for the ride here. One of two Silver Fox Racing entries this weekend. The other, of course, is Brett Burden. He's currently 12th in the order.
Yeah, Partridge started out of 7th, so made one position on Clifford, but it looks like Clifford's wanting to return serve and take that place back early in this one. You can sort of set up a move there if you get a nice run through the sweeper, and then around the kink you can dive up the inside, and we can see a bit of defence a bit further back. So yeah, that is an overtake opportunity, particularly in the Vs, and it really does set you up. You can really do the crisscross. If you don't get the inside at one corner, you can try the outside, get a good exit and try the inside at the next one. It really does set up some good old school jostling for position and off.
Josh Munro, he's come a cropper. He's on the right-hand side, exiting turn number 4. So he's well out of harm's way here. He's lost the front nose. That nose has actually had to been repaired between rounds as well. He had a pretty nasty trip through the grass at Sandown last round as well. So that nose has come off. It's a bit of an awkward spot where he's come to rest at the moment. And here's Adam Slattery recovering from his excursion at turn 1 on lap 1. He's trying to break up the Acura Motorsport team battle here between Samuk Rudrapatna in the second of the cars there, and then Damien Spinello in the J-Zone just ahead.
Just saw a graphic before. Reef McCarthy, fastest lap of the race. He's extended the margin already out to 2 seconds. It's pretty tight between Rowan Curran behind, but yeah, championship leader McCarthy has pulled out a margin early in this one, just as you said he wanted to do.
Yeah, but it's not the margin he would have been hoping for, though. He would have been probably preferring to be a bit better off the start line and probably be maybe another 2 or so seconds up the road. But he's got a lot of work to do, and I'm not so sure if he's going to be able to survive. There's Josh Munro just walking away from that car, so stewards are pretty happy with where the machine is at the moment. They don't need to throw a safety car out to recover the number 76.
You're saying he's only 2 seconds down the road. You've got to remember, he was third for most of lap number 1. So considering that, I wouldn't be too disappointed with only a 2-second lead. And there's somebody else off.
That's Kerr. That's Nick Kerr in the Silver Fox Sabre 02. So he's made a mistake up at turn 8 there. So he's going to be able to get back on. He's just looking for a spot. And here he comes. So job done. He comes on ahead of John Casamati. So Casamati was 16th. So he was starting to make wasn't starting to make any inroads in the wrong mile. He was actually still losing ground. So this will be a bit of an incentiviser for John to pick up another spot there. And another one off. That's Zach Barton at turn 10. Now, this was a trait that was happening in qualifying a little bit earlier this morning. A lot of drivers put it down to the fact that it was a very, very greasy circuit. First category out for qualifying. So we see a pass for position here with Ash Clifford going through on Lee Partridge. They were getting a bit frustrated. Some of them were complaining that the cars were spinning for no apparent reason, but a lot of them were putting it down to a lack of grip, a lack of rubber on the track being so early in the day. These are not used to being the first categories out. They're used to being a category a couple of sessions deep into each of the groups, and by then a lot of the big heavier cars have come out and they've laid rubber down for them.
Same thing in saloon cars. I went down to the paddock after qualifying. They were straight after V's. They were saying the same thing. Yeah, just very little grip for what they expected. The cars were sliding around all over the show. So clearly a theme in the first couple of categories anyway. So we can see, as you say, the race 1 winner from the last round, second in the championship with a good solid weekend, a 4th in race 2 and a 2nd in the final race as well. So Partridge came out of round number 1, second in the points behind McCarthy, with Nick Jones 3rd, Andre Curien in 4th, and then the big shock from round 1 was Heath Collinson down in 12th position in the standings after a shock DNF in race number 1.
I was about to say, what a dead set shocker of a round the reigning State Series champion had at Sandown. He's really looking for a clean weekend here. Here he is in shot, 3rd car in the queue of 3 there. Jake Rowe and Andre Curien just ahead of him. Here's a bit of a game move right around the outside. That's going to be a gap that's going to diminish very, very quickly. That's compromised Curien as well. Is Collinson going to be able to take advantage of the mistake? Thinks about it, not quite close enough.
Curien slight lock up mid-corner there, put him slightly wide, but he managed to keep the momentum through the corner down into turn number 4, manages to hold the position. But yeah, Collinson's certainly a fast man at the moment, and if I look at the fastest laps, he's comfortably quicker than both Curien and Rowe, and he's actually matching Reef McCarthy at the front of the field. So if he was with McCarthy, big sideways moment there for Rowe, but yeah, if he was with McCarthy at the front of the field, he'd be going with him. They are identical on pace at this point in the race.
Rowe's starting to ask a little bit more of the GR Motorsport Electrics number 66 here as well. And I can just feel him starting to push. You can see he's right up on the ripple strip on the exits. The car's sliding, the tyres are protesting. He's really starting to turn up the wick a little bit, sensing that this might be the opportunity to start closing the gap down to the race leader, especially with 2 other Sabre 02s right on his hammer.
This is what I was saying about Winton being different. If this is Phillip Island or Sandown, in a straight, you slipstream, make the move almost before the next corner. Can't do that here at Winton. You've got to do it the old-fashioned way. You've got to send one, try and work the person in front of you to try and find a way through. He's got a nice run out the final corner. Turn number 12 has Collinson, and he's already looking to the inside. He is alongside, but if Curien can keep it on the outside at turn number 1, he'll have the inside for turn number 2, but he's unable to do so. Good authoritative pass there by Collinson to take 3rd position.
Yeah, well done. Thought that one through very, very early and executed it perfectly. Reef McCarthy, another fastest lap you just saw out in front, into the 33, so we're into qualifying territory for Reef McCarthy. His qualifying lap was 33.2, just under 33.5 in race trim. And these 3 gentlemen here, all in the 34s last time around. Heath Collinson in 33.8. So, as you said, he's just starting to turn that wick up just a little bit. He's got some pace to match McCarthy. Unfortunately, the position does not lie. And that right now, that group of 3 cars is 5 seconds in arrears of the race leader. As we're looking at the 2 Silver Fox Sabre 02s of Nick Kerr and Brett Burton. A bit further down the order in positions 12 and actually, well, it was 12 and 11th, but I'm wondering if there's been a change of position between those two cars, because Casamati's starting to range up on the back of him. So the two Sabres of Kerr and Burden have switched positions in the last lap, and there might be another switch on here. Oh, some contact with Casamati getting into the right rear of Brett Burden.
See what Casamati thought, waving his hands as soon as the contact was made. He felt as though Burden closed the door far too late, didn't leave him any room. So very much, I think, two stories there, two different opinions on what happened. But as we see, nice recovery, fingers crossed no damage, doesn't look like it anyway. So I think we have escaped just a few damaged egos.
I think so. And Brett's been struggling a little bit this weekend too, because it's been a little while since that car was back out on the racetrack. It's had a couple of rollovers and a bunch of repairs that needed to be completed. But he's just struggling with a little bit of the ride height and a bit of the feel in that car. So it's going to take a little bit of time to get himself back up to speed. Another change of position there. So Collinson through to position number 2 ahead of Jake Rose, number 66. So now, can this group set their sights on Reef McCarthy some 5.8 seconds up the road? They've got 8 minutes left, but it might be a bit of a tall order from here, I think.
I think it will be a very tall order with just 8 minutes to go. These three looking, or Rowe and Curran anyway, very similar on pace, and Collinson will be looking to move ahead. So we're going to see a replay of the move. I believe it was down at turn number 1. This time he's gone the long way around, so he went inside on Curry in the previous lap, this time swinging it around sideways at turn number 1. Nice move, and then getting the back marker as well. Really nice couple of passes from Collinson, 2 laps in a row, and that's got him up to position number 2.
And that was some good heads-up driving from Jake Roach. So it took a bit two to tango at that corner as well. Jake realised that Heath was ahead. There was no point sort of trying to hold position on the inside or fight him, so he just allowed it to happen. And that's a sense and sensibility approach from all the drivers in Formula V. Realising the situation, not doing anything too silly, just falling back into line, protect your position, and carry on and don't cost each other any time.
Now, for some people, you might not know Nick Rowe. Didn't do every round last year, missed round 1 this year. But when he is here, he is up the front. He's taken wins off Collinson and McCarthy. He really can hold a candle to them and really fight amongst them. And that's what he's doing right now. Collinson may have got past, but he's not letting him out of his sights. He is very much taking the fight to him in the battle for second position with just under 7 minutes to go now.
And it was another fastest lap for McCarthy last time around as well. He's down to a 33.3 now, whereas Collinson was in 33.8 on the last lap. So Collinson's going to have to get a wriggle on here if he wants any hope of trying to close the margin down to Reef McCarthy. What else have our replay crew got in store for us? We'll be interested to have a look at what other battles they're capturing up and down the field. So this is a different angle of the Casamati and Burden contact. Just from that angle, I would say that would have been Burden's corner. I think he might have been further ahead than probably John thought. I thought that was a bit of a late lunge, because it's a bit of a late apex there. So
I'm going to play devil's advocate and say he was quite far up the inside at one point there. So I'm going to leave that one to the stewards, because that was quite a difficult one to call.
2 different camera angles give 2 different results.
Yes,
don't they? That's the important part of that.
As we see, with just under 6 minutes to go, the battle for second is still continuing.
Here goes Rowe. Is he going to go down the inside here at turn 1? Yes, he does. A little bit of curb. Front left-hand wheel has a little bit of air time there off the inside of turn 1. He gets that move smartly done. So he's sat behind Heath for a lap and a half now. Realised that Heath wasn't making the sorts of inroads that he thought he could make. He's like, well, I want that position back.
Seems like turn 1's the opportunity to overtake. It's a big headwind. There's a bit of a breeze this afternoon, so a headwind down into turn number 1. That seems to be the best overtaking opportunity. Not turn number 11. Normally it's one or the other. Of course, turn number 11 goes in the complete opposite direction, or the straight pry goes in the opposite direction. So turn 1 is the overtaking opportunity today. That might be the opposite tomorrow if the wind's in the opposite direction. But we can see now it's Rowe in front, it's Collinson all over him. In fact, Rowe runs, that's quite hard to say, a bit wide there, and allows Collinson a nice run. 10's a big dive bomb if you're going for it. Collinson thinks better of it.
Yeah, Rowe pushing again really hard. I can see the car attitude, it's bouncing, it missed an apex here or there, and then he tried to pick the throttle up really early on corner exit at turn 9, and the car just sort of skated right out to the exit curve there, almost well and truly offline. So 4 minutes 20 left in this race. At the moment, lap time's in the 1 minute 33s and 34 bracket, so probably around another 3 to 4 laps still to complete, so still plenty of time. Formula Vee's chalked up 11 laps in this opening 25-minute hit out already, so this is a really good lap count here as Collinson says, no, I want position number 2 back. Kieran, I think, is just playing a little bit of a waiting game here. I don't think he's trying to do anything too silly. He's just waiting for his opportunity. It's a bit like a snooker match, isn't it? There's tactical snooker and then there's aggressive snooker. It's like in racing. There's aggressive racing and there's tactical racing. You're just going to wait for the right opportunity just to pick your moment, and that's when you strike.
Yeah, biding his time, almost waiting for these two to almost escort each other wide or make a mistake, and he will hopefully sweep through on the inside or outside. As we see Collinson slightly defensive, certainly looking in his mirrors on the approach to the turn, so he's aware they're still there, that's for certain. As you see them sweep around the left-handed turn and then around a very similar shaped right-handed turn and head out. Oh, and this time it's Collinson that runs a bit wide out of turn number 9. But again, as I say, it's really hard to make a move at turn number 10 unless you really send it to the inside. So we'll continue to stick with these three because it is a really, really high-quality battle. Now, what Rowe did here last lap, I thought, he sort of half defended Collinson, and that affected his run through turn 11, turn number 12, and then Collinson got him on the pit straight. Collinson has not done that, so that means he's got a nice run through turn 11, a nice run through turn number 12. The question is, how about the exits, as we see them come down the straight? So once again, headwinds playing a big factor. Because Collinson got a nice run out of turn number 12, Rowe cannot get back past.
And Collinson defended very, very early there off of turn 12 as well. Stayed left almost all the way to the checkered flag point and then really didn't move across to take the normal racing line to turn 1, and he couldn't because Rowe was there, so he had to leave in the required car's width worth of space. But that was a sign of intent from Heath Collinson as the race draws towards its conclusion with just on 2 minutes remaining.
Further up, McCarthy just continuing.
That's 10 seconds
That's
now.
right, yeah. Another lap where he's the only one in the 33s, quite comfortably, nearly a second faster than anybody else on the track. So yeah, easily now out to 10 seconds with just under 2 minutes to go. The race very much coming to the closing stages. The aggression, I think, will have to come out from these three now. They're going to have to really fight for second position.
Yep, I think they're only going to have one more lap remaining as well. So there's a minute 30 left on the clock. Reece McCarthy's probably within earshot of the start-finish line. He's coming around the last corner now with this group just heading towards the second last corner. So this will be the final lap for Formula V after they cross the line this time around. So that'll give them a total of 14 laps for race 1. So it's a very, very healthy return for 25 minutes invested. But this battle's far from over.
Collinson had to slightly defend into turn number 11 that time, but he got again a really nice run out of turn number 12, and that's important. That's the most important thing, getting the run out of turn number 12, because you're always vulnerable down into turn number 1. He's going to have to defend here, Collinson. Not the greatest run out of turn number 2, and in fact, Curran's going to send it up the inside of Rowe, is he? Oh, he thinks about it. Oh, that was
so close. So close to contact, and that's actually cost Andre Curran track position there. He's lost a lot of ground to Jake Rowe after that half-hearted lunge.
It's a bit of a battle further back as well between Partridge and Jones, but as we look at the battle for second, still Collinson defensive into the turn. I can hear a bit of a lock-up, not sure who that is locking up or sliding. But yeah, Curran certainly lost some ground there, hasn't he? He's going to try and gain it back through the middle sector, but it might be a little bit too late. Rowe using all the road there, taking a shallow line into turn number 9. Slightly, Collinson certainly extended the margin in the first half of this lap, hasn't he?
He certainly has, as the clock has now gone to 0. So final lap we are on right now. 14 laps of duration. Well, this guy didn't take too long to get back to the front after what can be seen as a very unusual tardy start. And a very rare tardy start for Reece McCarthy, but he shows no problems taking the checkered flag first. Some 11 seconds clear of this group that fought over second, third and fourth for the majority of this race. Collinson will take second, Rowe will take third, ahead of Andre Curran in fourth. Right down the pack, Rob Vile, Charlie Tracy Richardson and Brett Burden all close together. These three cars are 14th, 15th and 16th respectively on the road at the moment.
Love the Golf livery on the number 7 Vile machine. Looks fantastic. Love retro livery. We'll see plenty of those throughout the weekend. That one is one of my favourites in particular. It's not over, as you say, battling further down the field. He had a bit of a look there, but no room at the inner turn. Number 10, he'll have a look down at number 11. He's got a really nice run here. He'll look to the inside. And he's slotted up the inside, made the move, nice deep under brakes. He's run a little wide actually.
Crisscross, great situational awareness from Charlie Richardson. Just the door opened and she snatched it straight back. Rob Vile might lose another spot here if Burton's close enough. I don't think he is. And this will be a drag race to the line here. And I think, I don't want to call that. That was so close. It's been awarded to Rob Vile by a fraction.
9 thousandths of a second. 9 thousandths of a second the margin across the line. How close do you like it? So Vile did make it, did get the slipstream and made it past at the line.
Had the better exit off the corner.
Correct.
I think that's what it was. He made a bit of a meal of it at turn 11. Charlie made the crisscross work, but then she was, of course, compromised on the line at the apex. Couldn't get the power down early enough. Vile was on the outside. He was able to square the corner off and put the power down and drive away toward the line.
Yes, that's exactly how I saw it as well, as we have a look at the race 1 results. So McCarthy taking the win by 11.8 seconds from Heath Collinson. Then behind Collinson, 7/10 of a second to Jake Rowe. Behind that, Andre Curran. Lee Partridge coming home in 5th, just ahead of Nick Jones.
And then you've got Ash Clifford, Adam Slattery and Samuk Rudrapatna and Damien Spinello 9th and 10th. So that's a good result for the Acura Motorsport guys to get 2 of their 3 cars into the top 10.
Good morning. Yes, Formula Vee is heading out onto the race circuit for their 2nd race of the weekend. Cracking race yesterday. Reef McCarthy took off a bit into the distance, but the fight for second was awesome. Alongside me, as always, Stephen DeFries. Welcome. How are you?
Very good, thank you. We had a good night last night. Good day yesterday as well. Plenty of great racing all throughout all the categories on Saturday here at Winton Motor Raceway. This field of cars was certainly very, very entertaining. You alluded to that 2nd, 3rd and 4th place battle between Jake Rowe, Andre Curran and the man who eventually triumphed in that battle, Heath Collinson, the defending State Series champion. Ultimately, they didn't have the pace to get on with the job and take off after Reef McCarthy, who won by a healthy 12 seconds at the end of 14 laps. So there's the first 4 starting as they finished. McCarthy from Collinson and Rowe from Curran. And then we go back to a couple of the other battles that were happening down the field as well. Lee Partridge and Nick Jones had a great battle later in that piece with Ash Clifford and Adam Slattery. You got the 2 Acura Motorsport machines that had a very quiet run in the top 10 there. They had a little intra-team battle between Samuk Rudrapatna and Damien Spinello. And then Nick Kerr and Brandon Taylor, who made his way forward at the expense of some of the other drivers. He started 18th and moved up to 12th place. So that was a good return for the Gippy Powder Coating Sabre 02. And then Malachi Windsor, Rob Vile and Charlie Richardson, they had a great exchange in that last couple of corners. Great switchback over and under, great positional racing, and then a head-on drag race to the line, which Rob just pipped Charlie at the line there with just a few split seconds. And at the back of the pack, got a few drivers coming through from the rear there, as you could see, with Hayden Slattery, Josh Munro, Ayrton Filippi and Brett Burden starting from the back 2 rows of the grid. Brett Burton, of course, involved with that little tangle up at turn 7 about halfway through the race with John Casamati yesterday afternoon.
This is going to be an interesting race. It's the front 2, the title protagonists from last year. When these 2 are together, we usually get some superb racing, but both of them made pretty poor starts yesterday, found themselves third and fifth respectively by the time they got to turn number 1. So I hope they'll be both looking for much better starts here today.
Absolutely right. For Jake Rowe, he said it was like a parting of the Red Sea. It was like they both just had poor starts, and he just went straight through the gap in the middle and then led lap 1, but all but briefly, because McCarthy pretty much snatched it back straight after the first lap was over. No such troubles this time though. McCarthy and Collinson much better starts off the front row of the grid. McCarthy looks like he just had the better of the two starts. It looks like Collinson maybe has missed a gear change, maybe from second to third there. He's sunk like a stone. He's gone back to, what's that, 5th place. Same sort of situation he had yesterday. Initial jump very good, very, very tardy in the second phase of the start.
Yeah, and finds himself where he was, as you say, in 5th position, as we see the Acura Motorsport number 49 of Spinello there up the inside. So a bit of progress made early there, but number 99, that's Slattery holding it around the outside. Good battling between those two towards the rear end of the top 10 early in this race.
Yeah, great job by Adam Slattery from South Australia to hold on to that position there. Left some room for Spinello, had a good start, had a very, very good run with his teammates. Mukrudrapatna is looking down the inside here of two of the Sabres, not only Brandon Taylor, but he had a bit of a sneaky look there at the Silver Fox Racing entry of Nicholas Kerr, and wasn't far enough to make that second move stick, but he's got one of the Sabres in Brandon Taylor in the number 29 machine.
Certainly does, as we see all the cars filing through the flip-flop, the lefts and the rights, and so far with no incidents, which is what we like to see. A move for position, a bit of smoke coming out the back of that blue machine.
That's the Casamati machine, who was involved in that tangle with Brett Burden yesterday. They had to replace a front left wheel rim on that car, and you're right, there is a fair bit of smoke coming out of the back there of the number 25 Beach Racing Sabre 02. Wouldn't be surprised to see if that continues for a little while, that there might be black flagging in that car.
It only seems to be under brakes. It doesn't seem to be so much in a straight line. It's when he gets on the brakes that the smoke comes out the back. We can see with this brilliant camera angle from Blendline TV, you can see the smoke go once again towards turn number 1.
Here's Charlie Richardson tacked onto the back of Darren Power, two of the JSA pilots in the field. At the moment, positions down in 15th and 16th respectively. And looking for Rob Vile, who was, I guess, glued to Charlie for a couple of laps in the later stage of the race yesterday. He's actually sunk all the way back to 22nd, so something's gone a little bit wrong in the opening lap for Rob Vile. A bit of smoke coming out of turn number 4. Wondering if that's something that maybe has been left behind by one of the cars just dropping a couple of wheels off the backside of the curb there on the exit of 4.
Yeah, it certainly was. Yeah, somebody running 2 wheels through the grass, kicking up a little bit of dirt. McCarthy, great start, 1.2 seconds down the road of Curran and Rowe. It looks like the fight between those two will continue once again today, and it's a question of can Collinson join them. He's got Jones in the way at this point in time. It was those three that were fighting for second throughout yesterday's 25-minute race. This one's slightly shorter at 20 minutes.
Yeah, so we're expecting we'll probably drop maybe 3 or 4 laps from the total that we compiled yesterday afternoon. We got through 14, so we're expecting somewhere around 10 to 11 laps. There goes Kieran and number 66 of Jake Rowe. And then you've got this other battle here with Collinson. Looks like he's just managed to slice his way through on Nick Jones, take position at number 4 at the conclusion of lap 2. Tickets very cheap here at Winton Motor Raceway. Just $10 to get in for everybody over 16. If you're under 16, it is absolutely free. So if you are in the area, as Darren Smith called it earlier in the day, please come and join us. It's a jam-packed day of racing, and you will not be disappointed at a very, very affordable price. It's the artshop.com.au entry of Nick Jones continues to pursue Heath Collinson through turn 5 sweeper. He was actually the only one, Nick Jones, out of the top 10 cars yesterday that wasn't a Sabre 02 chassis. He was 9 of the top 10 in qualifying were Sabres, and he was the only JSA pilot that was up there, so did a tremendous job.
There's a spin down. I heard some tyre squeal. There's
yep,
a couple of
someone's
cars
off the circuit.
down
It's
there.
Ash Clifford in the Star Res number 17.
There's another car as well that span on the outside of the sweeper, so the corner before. So a couple of cars down there. Not sure if they were related in any way. One car's gone off to the outside, the other car on the inside. So not sure if Not sure what who the other car was, but certainly a couple of cars down there, and I'm not sure if it was in the same incident. As we see Curran and Rowe continue their fight. It's actually Curran with the fastest lap of the race on the previous lap, just a couple of thousandths of a second faster than race leader McCarthy, and now he's got Rowe to play with behind.
Now, even Jake Rowe said to me this morning that he didn't have the fight in the engine just to sort of try and hold off Curran and Collinson yesterday afternoon in that first 14-lap hit out. Feels the engine's a little bit tired. It's done quite a number of race meets without a rebuild, and that will do things for you. It's the same thing we see in Formula 40. You know, if you constantly, after several meets, they'll rebuild an engine, and you've got to do that to sort of stay at the competitive end of the field. It's a very similar situation in Formula V, where if you've got to, every couple of meets, you've got to pull the engine down and change the seals and rebuild them up, keep them as fresh as possible. But for Jake, only having done periodic rounds here and there, not sort of really committed to a full season, it's sort of elongated that process out and probably getting to the point now where it is due for a little bit of a freshen up. Last time he actually had that car out was here at National Challenge in October last year.
Yeah, but when he does arrive on the scene, he is up there. He's taking it to the big boys.
We've had a spin up. That's Spinello in the 49. That's between turns 3 and 4. To get that back on okay, he does. And the outfield is quite slippery at the moment because of the low overnight temperatures. There is still a little bit of dew on the grass, so you do want to avoid going off the circuit onto the grass sort of as at all costs at the moment. Onto the gravels is not too much of an issue, but the track's still quite green.
I think it is very, very dewy out there, and I think if you do end up in the grass at the moment, you'll struggle to get back on, particularly in these very low Formula V cars. I think you'll be wheel spinning trying to make your way back onto the circuit.
So there was Mick Fisher was involved in that one as well, so maybe it looks like Spinello maybe went for a pass and potentially wasn't on, or there might have been a little bit of minor contact there.
Struggled to get it going again after the spin. Not sure about that. Had to pull back over to the left, then it got going, refired, and then
probably would have been in third gear actually, because it's third gear corner, so we would have had to drop it all the way back down to first gear and probably wouldn't have realised until it was a bit late. Slotted first gear and get going again. Here's Casamati with smoke still coming out the back of that number 25 Beecham Sabre out of turn number 1 and 2. Looking for the move here on the 60 of Samuk Rudrapatna. And looking down the inside, not quite close enough to strike. Great hold by Rudrapatna there. Went a little bit deeper under brakes, still left a little bit of room. But the fight will continue up to turn number 7. So Casamati trying to go the long way around the sweeper. There's no way through there. There's hold station through here for the kink at 6. And if you've got half a chance, you fire it up the inside at turn 7, but it's well covered off by Rudrapatna there.
Casamati, after his challenging day yesterday, finds himself down 12th in the standings. The live standings put him in 12th position, so he's dropped a few positions. He was in the top 10 coming into the round, so one bad result and you lose a couple of positions early on in this championship.
Certainly do. This is a young man at the back of this little 3-car group here that sort of picked up the pace in the last couple of rounds as well. Malachi Windsor, he's been great hanging on to the back of those couple of sabres of Ash Clifford and the other second car that was in that group of Brandon Taylor, who's a little bit sort of further back than he would ideally want to be. Looks like Casamati's finally got that move done on the other Acura car of Samuk Rudrapatna out of turn 10. He's now going to set his sights on the back of the Silver Fox racing car of Nick Kerr in the number 21.
McCarthy, fastest lap of the race last time through, a 33.6 at 0.6 of a second faster than both Curran and Rowe behind, so he's marching out. He wants his 4th race victory in a row. He's finished in the top 2 in every race so far this season, and he's keen to continue that streak in race number 2 here at Winton Motor Raceway. Collinson set his personal best on the last lap, couple of tenths faster than the 2 ahead, but with only 7 minutes to go, he's going to need a bit more than that if he wants to catch those 2.
He certainly will. And Nick Kerr was a bit wide there at sweeper looking for the different line. Casamati was through the open door in a heartbeat. And he might be vulnerable here down the inside at turn 7. Again, that was very close to contact, similar to his teammate yesterday afternoon. But they get through there unscathed, and Rudrapatna going to go right around the outside here of Nick Kerr. He knows he's vulnerable. He fancies the opportunity, and he gets that move done at turn 9. That's a very, very excellent pass right around the outside of turn 8. He's got to put his elbows out here for turn 10.
I think he's missed a gear on the exit of the corner, and that's allowed the other car back through around the outside. They're going to go side by side again around turn number 10. Mighty close, and in fact, who's that behind? He's going to slot through as well.
Clifford.
It is Clifford recovering from the spin earlier on.
Oh, some trouble, or is that cars letting... Is that some lap traffic cars letting other cars through? I just couldn't quite see the car numbers that they just went through in the last few seconds there. I was worried that maybe there was a car a bit further ahead of them that had missed a gear or had some sort of mechanical gremlin.
So you see the cars come across the line, so Clifford...
Actually, it is. There was a couple of cars there that John Casamati and one other.
Yes, well spotted. It is certainly Casamati, that is for certain. Another disastrous race for him, but Clifford trying to recover from his spin earlier on. He's trying to take position number 8 off Kerr now, and he's right on the tail as they exit turn number 4 and around the famous sweeper turn number 5.
So let's have a look on the Blendline TV replay here of the pass that we're just watching. So down here at turn number 1, Jake Rowe very firmly down the inside. Little bit of a skate on the rear end of the car there. Held it and controlled it absolutely well.
While these two are fighting, Heath Collinson posts his fastest lap of the race.
Dipped into 33s.
Yeah, he's now right on their tail, and they're continuing to battle. Rowe having to go defensive into turn number 11. He's gone very wide, but able to keep the momentum and hold the position. So 66 Rowe from Curran, and here comes Heath Collinson, our reigning Victorian Vee's champion, on the outside, and looking to make progression up to second position if he can.
Looks like it's going to be second verse, same as the first, like it was in race 1. It's going to be almost a repeat for the podium positions in race number 2. McCarthy is disappearing off into the distance now. That margin is starting to become quite unassailable right now. It's out to 6 seconds. It was 12 seconds yesterday. For most of this race, it's been just sort of being edging a little bit further and further away, but as this group of cars continues to fight, that gap is growing.
Certainly is, that is for certain. And a big lock-up at turn number 3 for Heath Collinson. He's lost a bit of ground. It's allowed the front two to slightly skip away. That he had all the momentum. He really was catching them quickly. Now he's got it all to do. He's got to catch back up to them and then make the passes. By the time he catches up, they'll only be 4 minutes on the clock. It's going to be an exciting finish with these three once again.
It certainly is. Can Jake Rowe in the GR Motorsport Electrics number 66 hold them off? That's the key question. Well, Nick Kerr finally couldn't hold off the charges of Samut Rajapatna. He's through at turn 7. Well done.
So that's for 9th position on the road, and you can see Clifford has quickly pulled ahead, so I don't think he'll get any higher than 8th. There's a 15-second gap to the car ahead, so certainly unlikely with 4 minutes to go. But you never know, there may be a mechanical drama or something that he can pounce upon.
You've got the next 3 cars as well, headed by Brandon Taylor, and then you've got Malachi Windsor and John Casamati. They're not out of this fight as well, that the couple of cars ahead of them with Kerr and Rajapatna sort of being within earshot. And still, Heath Collinson can't quite find a way through on his stablemate, Andre Curran.
Rowe had to go defensive into turn number 1, and Curran couldn't find a way through, and that's what's allowed Collinson to catch back up. So it is once again a 3-way fight for second position.
They're going to have some lap traffic in a minute too. Lucy Sidwell in the Sabres out there as well. That's a Sabre that they've actually bought, well actually not bought, they're actually leasing for the remainder of the season. It's in her first race meet. She's done a really good job there to get out of the way on the head of the group of cars there on the run up to turn number 7. So job well done, realising what was going on.
Both Rowe and Curran actually has a lot of curb to overtake her on the inside into the well, not even, it's not double apex right-hander, but the 2 right-handers in a row. And here's Collinson now, right on the back of Curran. And in that middle sector, Rowe's just been able to extend the margin. He got through the back marker a little easier than the other 2, and it's allowed him to skip away. Oh, there we go.
That's up at turn 8. So he's come a crop up at the Gumtree section of the course, as it's affectionately known. It's known by some other names, but we're not going to go into that particular debate at the moment. 2 more laps, I think, is probably what we expect to get out from this one. So just on 2 minutes, 20 seconds remaining, and the leader's already across the line. So estimate is that we're going to have an 11-lap duration for the opening race of Sunday. Great over and under. Collinson looking for the angle. Now he's got the high ground for turn 3.
Yeah, great move, really good thinking, racing, brilliant move, brilliant pass, and now he is up to 3rd position. I was just looking, seeing the wind. There's not too much wind this morning compared to what there was with the V race yesterday. There was quite a headwind at turn number 1.
So, was there that's a very awkward spot to have a look at. We're just looking at the replay there of what happened to Nick Kerr. I'm not sure, was there some contact there?
I'm not sure, as you
very
say.
Difficult to spot.
Yeah, I'm not sure there was any contact, but it's an odd place to spin without contact, isn't it? Very low speed, left-hander. That's where they're going around currently. Are leading, or not leading, but are battle for second. So yeah, an odd place to spin that one on your own.
Has Jake Rowe got a little bit of a margin here? Has he got enough margin to insulate himself from an advance from Heath Collinson? I don't think it's quite enough just yet, but he's going some way to ensuring himself for position number 2. Collinson's really going to have to pull out all the stops in what we suspect will now be the final lap.
Now the fastest lap of the race for Reef McCarthy. He's now extended that lead to 9 seconds, and it'll probably be extended further when Jake Rowe crosses the line this time through. So really, really good performance once again from Reef McCarthy. As we see the battle, it looks like Rowe's extended the margin, and he certainly has. He's extended it by over half a second. So is it now the fight for 3rd? I'm not entirely sure though. 3 kilometres of this race still to go.
Down to turn 3, Collinson having to defend from Curran. A little bit of a brake lock up there, looked like for Jake Rowe going into 3, pushing very, very hard to make sure he can keep ahead of the Collinson Black Angus number 31 behind him. That margin's gone now, so Collinson will be all over the rear gearbox linkage of the GR Motorsport Electrics 66 heading up to turn 7. Have a look at this gaggle of cars coming through the opening couple of corners. Well, Casamati, after his little blows, whatever they happen to be, has managed to pick up about 4 spots here ahead of a couple of the Acura Motorsports cars and a couple of Sabre O2s belonging to Taylor and Kerr.
It's on for 2nd as well. I can see out the commentary box window. Collinson is right on the tail. In fact, having a little bit of a look at turn number 10, but this battle further down just outside the top 10 is pretty good as well. There we are, Collinson, bit sideways out at turn number 10. That's put him out of a real opportunity of a move down at turn number 11. I think he's too far back now with a couple of corners to go.
Certainly is. McCarthy coming to the line here, coasting at home, no threat, and takes another win. And for Jake Rowe, this will be a pretty bittersweet performance, because taking 2nd place here, I think is a bit of just reward for a very selfless act that he undertook at the National Challenge here last year, where he sacrificed his own race to help Andre Curran, who had actually had a rollover at the final corner. So that's, I think karma has a little bit of a funny way of sort of showing its hand, doesn't it? You know, some people say you do nice things to others, other nice things will happen to you. So that's a great result for Jake Rowe. Very, very well deserved.
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, 2nd place ahead of Collinson and Curran. It's still on a little bit further back. Look at McCarthy. First lap of the race, again on that last lap, breaking into the 32s. Yeah, exactly.
32.9.
And you have a look, the next best, Heath Collinson, 33.9. So 2nd faster than the 3 fighting for 2nd position. In a league of his own in that race once again, McCarthy.
Absolutely in a league of his own as well. So a handful of drivers still to come across the line. They're all sort of flowing across there now. So back into the top 10 there, behind Andre Curran and Heath Collinson and Jake Rowe. You had Nick Jones in a very lonely 5th place there. Lee Partridge closed the door down on him pretty late in the piece. So that's the 5th and 6th positions there. Adam Slattery, he was very lonely in that race too. Look at that, Ash Clifford, who managed to kick away from that group at the end of the day after his off, and John Casamati recovering for a top 10 finish, and Samukra Drapatna, he gets another top 10 finish after his first one yesterday. Brandon Taylor moves another spot forward. He started 12th, he finished 11th out of all of that, and he was in that, look at that big group of cars there, the top 3 in there, all 45 sort of seconds behind the race leader, but very, very close together. Very close finishes there at the conclusion of an 11-lap journey here in Formula V. To start Sunday's race sessions at Winton Motor Raceway for round 2 of the 888 Home Loans Victorian State Race Series.
We're down here in the Formula Vee pit lane, and we've got Charlie Richardson from the Formula V's category here. Charlie, this is your second year racing these cars. How have you developed from when you started out to where you are now?
I feel that I've gotten more confident in the car and built a relationship with everyone in my team and everyone else who races Formula V, which is good.
What was it that brought you into Formula V in the first place? What was the appeal?
Dad knew the McCarthys, and he wanted to get me out of go-karting, and so Formula V was the next thing.
And how was a step from karting to Formula V's like, especially in terms of the racing with the other competitors? Like, what's that like on track?
It's very different. There's not a lot of races in Formula V during the year as compared to go-karting, and it's just totally different when it comes to gears and the steering and just the whole setup in general.
Well, best of luck this weekend, and I hope it all goes well for you.
Thank you.
Oh, she's a great ambassador for Formula V, is Charlie Richardson, and a great interview there with Matt Dunlop. It's good to see Charlie and her father as well. They've actually taken that Formula V Jacer out to a couple of the car shows in the Bendigo area. They are from that area, as a couple of the drivers are these days, and put them on display with some of the Volkswagen Beetles and the camper vans and those sort of things. It's actually been really well received. So she's really out there and being a great brand ambassador for what is, I guess, the best stepping stone I think you can take from karts into open wheel racing these days, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely, and she's finished with a couple of top 15 finishes in the first couple of races of the weekend, which is really good. She'll be hoping to break into the top 10 this afternoon in the Formula V feature race number 3. Here's the grid. Championship leader Reefa McCarthy out of position number 1 alongside Jake Rowe. Reigning Victorian V's champion Heath Collinson comes out of position number 3 with Andre Curran in position 4. Behind that we've got Nick Jones, Lee Partridge, who won a race at round number 1 at Sandown. Then we've got South Australian Adam Slattery and Ash Clifford, who had a little bit of a spin in race number 2. John Casamati, I'll get to that in a second. He had a bit of a struggle as well in race number 2. He comes out of 9. Then Ruud Putner is out of 10. Number 11, Brandon Taylor. Number 12, Malachi Windsor. As we turn the page, Nick Kerr coming out of 13 from Charlie, who we just spoke with, Charlie Richardson, in 14. Spineno and Munro, 15 and 16. Darren Power, Mick Fisher, Hayden Slattery in 38, and Rob Vile out of the top 20.
Last couple of cars there is Lucy Sidwell, who's on debut this weekend. Brett Burden, Ayrton Filippi, and Zach Barton, who was a DNF in that second race. So a couple of non-finishers in that one with Filippi and Barton. Filippi's had a sort of a slew of clutch issues and some fuel leakage issues and things like that. But he's back out there. He's the second last car in the queue, just going around there, followed by Zach Barton. Hoping to see Brett Burden back out there as well. I'm hoping that he's actually managed to make it back out. He's had a bit of a torrid time over the last sort of couple of years with that car needing plenty of attention to get it right. Look at the weather, Dan. 21.7 degrees.
I just had to turn the air conditioner up. It's quite warm in this wood-surrounded commentary box down towards turn number 3. So yes, just turning the air conditioner up. It's got a real bite to it, the sun this weekend, and even more particularly today.
Well, it's starting to take its toll on the drivers as well. I was talking to a few of the V drivers down in the paddock, and Lee Partridge has actually gone to the point of installing a timer in his car, just so you can sort of set it for how long the race is meant to be, because it's of course timed races. And he said that Lee had told him, he looked at the dash about halfway through the race yesterday and thought, oh God, I've been working really hard. There was still 11 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, much longer races. Now we've gone to timed races rather than laps. They are much longer races. This morning's race is 20 minutes, but we're back to 25 as it was yesterday. For this, the feature race, few extra bonus points on the line. 40 points for the winner rather than 30 in the first 2 races of the weekend. As we look to the back of the grid, last couple of cars coming into line, and we are set for go. in Formula V race number 3. Pretty even start from the front 2, and once again Heath Collinson from the second row. A disastrous start. He's going to drop several positions down to turn number 1. Here we are, look though, it's Rowe leading the way from McCarthy into turn number 1.
Great launch from Jake Rowe in the GR Motorsport Electrics number 66. That's a fantastic start from him, and you're right, Heath Collinson, I don't know what it is for him. Has he crossed paths with a black cat or something? Well, he's now locking up something else. It's black. It's a black tyre on the inside right front of that Sabre 02, and they'll go through his stablemate Ash Clifford. So Heath Collinson, his starts have been atrocious this weekend. What on earth has gotten into him? He
started on the front 2 rows in every single race and failed to be in the top 4 in any of the races.
Is there a spinner and some contact? I'm not sure. It's Adam Slattery, and there's some great avoiding action. Some drivers having to take to the gravel. I think that was Nick Kerr that maybe had to take to the gravel there. Did he have a little bit of a spin through the cloud of dust? I couldn't see what was going on.
Brilliant evasive action from all competitors. Damage on any of the cars. As I say, maybe some bruised egos, but it looks like we have all got away with that somehow.
Yeah, they've got going again, thank goodness. The chasing recovery vehicles have not got anybody that they need to attend to, so that is always a good sign. And this group of 5 cars has kicked away quite comprehensively on the opening lap here, with Partridge just ahead of Jones. And these two are actually involved in quite a close fight in the championship right now as well, with Partridge being second in the running order coming into the weekend. How's he faring right now? He's very close.
So currently McCarthy leads by a staggering 29 points. As we'll just look at this replay first.
On his own, I think. He lost it on his own. That oil is still playing a little bit of havoc.
That's for sure, as we see the lead battle close up. Rowe continues to lead from McCarthy, with Curran in 3rd position, and then Partridge in 4th. So yeah, going back to the championship, it's McCarthy by 29 points, but then behind that, ever so tight. Partridge 2nd, just 1 point ahead of Jones, and only 7 points ahead of Curran, with Collinson still trying to play catch-up, down quite a few points, 5th in the series.
So it's very, very tight in the early stages of this championship fight. Jake Rowe's giving it everything here. Look at the attitude of the car as he spears it through turn 6 and gets it under braking for turn 7. He's really trying to push hard and see if he can sort of break Reef's back a little bit, I think, because Reef's brained them all in the first 2 races this weekend, and he's just looking for a little bit of something extra, I think, Jake Rowe, maybe just to see if he can outlast Reef McCarthy. They've had so many battles over the years gone past that, you know, it's hard to imagine that Reef's been dominating in some sort of fashion that he has over the last sort of 18 months. Unfortunately, still lost the championship last year, and this was the bogey track for him. This is what brought his championship undone last year, or almost brought it undone, because it went right down to the wire at Phillip Island, but this was the bad round for him.
Absolutely, lost so many points with a DNF and a bad result here. He was playing catch-up for the rest of the year and only missed out in the end by 2 thousandths of a second from winning the title. As we see up the inside, nice move, fastest lap, and takes the lead. He wants to put it beyond doubt going into the last round this year. Wants to seal the title early, and he's looking for 5 race victories in a row. He's second in race number 1, and then 4 victories on the bounce. Looking for 5 here this afternoon.
It was nice to see him actually sporting some new threads for a change. He's got himself a new race suit when I was down talking to him earlier in the weekend, and I said to him, like, what was I know the old one was a little bit tired, but why would you actually bother to change? He said, well, I got back into the car and I got the old high school wedgie when I decided to sit down in the car, and I thought to myself, yeah, it's probably time for a change. I've outgrown this suit a little bit too much.
He's a really, really good driver, really good kid. I mean, raced successfully in Super 3 and even did a round at Super 2 at Bathurst a couple of years ago now. Was it last year? Oh, yes, it was last year, of course, because of the
wet weather, unfortunately, that curtailed the running on the Sunday sessions for Super 2.
Yes, it was Jay Robotham, of course, stepping up to Supercars as part of the wild card, and then he stepped into Jay Robotham's Image Racing car at Bathurst, yes.
So let's have a look down here at turn number 2. So this is Adam Slattery for the second time, and he's been off there. He was off there yesterday in race number 1 at the beginning of the race 2. He was just fighting with Rob Vile there, coming through turns 1 and 2 in a bit of a recovery drive for Adam Slattery after his earlier off at turn 5. Josh Munro now applying some pressure to the back of young Malachi Windsor. I think he's having a bit of a breakout round, Malachi Wins, who's showing some really good speed, mixing it up here with Nick Kerr, Charlie Richardson, and Damien Spinello. So definitely some faster machinery in this group, and he's staying right with them. So I think he's finally starting to come to grips with the style of racing required in Formula V as Nick Kerr goes through on the number 14 of Charlie Richardson and takes 12th place.
Yeah, Malachi Windsor was fighting just inside the top 20 in the last round. This round he finds himself fighting just outside the top 10. So moved up 5 or 6 positions compared to where he was last time, as you say. A bit of a breakout round for him, which is really good to see. And getting in the thick of the action around the sweeper. You can actually see some of these cars are breaking out sideways around the turn and losing a bit of grip from where that cement dust is. And here up the inside goes Windsor.
Leaves some good space there as well. And Charlie does the same. And Malachi go right around the outside. Yes, he does. He got good purchase with the rear drive out of turn 7, and he consolidates that pass. That's a very, very mature pass from such a young fellow.
Certainly is, and really good to see battles up and down the field. So Malachi Windsor back up into 13th position. 15 minutes to go. These longer feature races certainly feel longer, don't they? From 20 minutes to 25, extending the race by 20%. It's quite significant.
It's massive. There's a lot of drivers coming back from the paddock across all the categories, and they are just absolutely drenched in sweat. And we know that, look, from an ambient temperature, it's not hot, but when you get out there, it's like, it's the old thing on the weather forecast, it's 21 degrees, but it feels like 25. It's right. That sort of perspective that you've got to keep in mind here. So it might be 1.7 degrees there, but you go out and you stand in that sun and like, well, it feels like it's about 26, 27.
That's right.
And in the cockpit, considering that these Formula V drivers are so close to the asphalt, which is probably about another, 15 or 16 degrees temperature-wise higher than what the ambient temperature is, you can understand why drivers are getting out of the cars and they need like a good ice bath and a whole bunch of water and some fluids.
Absolutely they do. The fight is on for third position. Curran coming under increasing pressure from Partridge, who's coming on strong towards the end of the round. As we say, did really well in round 1, and he's steadily been moving up the field race on race in this one.
Heath Collinson slowly starting to catch this group as well. He's finally managed to make it past his stablemate Ash Clifford, and he's a couple of seconds in arrears of Nick Jones. There he is, just in shot there, just starting to appear. Nick probably won't be paying too much attention to him in the rearview mirrors just yet, but I think in about a lap or two's time, he's definitely going to have to keep his eyes on the rear view.
Yeah, that is for certain. You see the different body shells, the size difference between these two cars. Talk us through these two machines.
Well, they're both Sabre 02s. That's the interesting thing. It's just, I think, the colour difference between Andre Curran's exotic fleet branding one and then Lee Partridge's molecule-backed machine. They just look a little bit different. You can see they've got very, very similar silhouettes. It's just the colour scheme on the second place car there in the group that just makes it look like it's a different body shape. The one, however, behind Nick Jones, that's definitely a completely different car. That's a Jason 98, so that car's been around a long, long time. Probably still one of the quickest Jaces kicking around in Formula V, and piloted by somebody that's very, very experienced.
Absolutely, and doing well in the standings is Nick Jones, just collecting the points at this point in the season, and that can serve you really well come the end of the season at Phillip Island, round number 5. So we got this is the only time we visit Winton. We've got 2 more visits to Phillip Island and a Sandown round in the middle, and potentially a trip to Calder come season end, but that is to be confirmed. As we see, he's not so much looking ahead now, Partridge, unfortunately for him. He's looking in his rear vision mirrors to Jones just behind. Looking at the battle up front, McCarthy taken the lead a few laps ago and has broken away, setting his fastest lap of the race and the fastest lap of anybody of the race on the previous lap, 133.8, 8 tenths faster than anybody else on the racetrack at the moment. So Rowe 2.1 behind, and then this battle a further 1.5 seconds behind him, Curran, Partridge and Jones. And I've just seen Slattery, we just saw his brother have an off at the chicane, but he is in the lane, unfortunately, with some sort of an issue. So a bit of a frustrating trip for the Slatterys from South Australia. Although, where's the other Slattery?
Adam Slattery is still recovering through the field. He's up to 19th at the moment, so there's still a bit of work. So Hayden's in the lane, and Adam is still going. Here is Adam Slattery on cue, passing Mick Fisher in the Builders Crane Hire, number 69, and that will move him up a spot. Actually, it'll move him up to 17th because Mick was crossing the line there, and on the top of that, you've got Rob Vile just behind there as well. So that's 2 spots for Adam Slattery. I've been really, really impressed with Adam with his driving. Every time he's had an off or he's had to do a recovery, getting through the field for him just seems to be, like a natural for him.
Yes.
It's just he hasn't sort of got that extra little bit of a step to stay with the top sort of front runners.
I think that's a very good assessment of the pace he has shown this weekend. I'm looking a little bit further ahead. Collinson is now there. And in fact, I think this group are catching up with the row. So we could have a 4-car battle between 2nd and 5th in the not too distant future as they round the turn.
Yeah, Mick Fisher's actually just started to emit a little bit of smoke. I'm not sure if it's under braking. It probably won't be anything too serious to catch the eye of the stewards just yet. It just looks maybe as the car turns to the right and to the left that maybe there's just something starting to come out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just let that one go. It's not like it's an obvious bit of oil smoke, but we can just sort of see something just a little bit popping out, but it's not showing any real worrying signs at the moment. And here you go, this battle that you were mentioning before has now become a 4-car battle. Collinson is officially there.
Absolutely. So it's Curran, Partridge, Jones and Collinson within 1.5 seconds, 1.2 seconds as they came across the line that time through. And at the moment it looks like Jones is on the back of Partridge. That's the closest. Curran slightly stepping ahead in the first few corners of this lap. Very different first few corners to this section that they're going in now, the really tight, twisty section of the circuit. Turns number 7, 8 and 9, the hairpins. Under the gum tree they will go in just a second. Swing it around to the left. Look at Collinson, he's right there now. Having a look at Jones, he's going to the inside, is he, at turn number 9? Difficult to make an overtake. We've seen a couple of incidents there in the last few races. Saloon car springs to mind on the final lap earlier on today. As they head down into turn number 10, he'll be looking for a nice run out of here and down the road towards turn number 11. No headwind, no tailwind at this point in time today.
Collinson got a good exit.
Limited wind.
Collinson got a good exit, and I think you'll have a look at Nick Jones here. Just sticks his nose in there. He's got to leave a little bit of room, but I think he probably thought better of it. It was a little bit too late, and that unfortunate good exit comes to nothing for Heath Collinson, so he will have to try again. Now, importantly, coming up, we mentioned that the Formula V's will be racing at Phillip Island on the 26th to the 28th of May, along with a number of the other state series categories. There's actually an extra round this year for Formula V. It's an extra club round. It's actually the DocuLink Challenge Cup, which is going to be held on the Saturday the 8th and Sunday the 9th of July. So that's actually between the Victorian State rounds 3 and 4. And it's actually being put on by the Formula V Association of Victoria, and all club members that would like to race in that event can race for free. Wow. So it's going to be a great initiative from the Formula V Victorian branches. Here comes Collinson down the inside of Nick Jones. Can't make that happen. But no, looking forward to that Phillip Island. And non-Formula V members, it's only $350 for the weekend, so to enter. So it's very, very affordable for an extra round for Formula V. So the DocuLink Challenge Cup coming up in early July.
That'd be interesting as well, just a month before the Phillip Island round there as well. So yeah, that'd be almost a good little test for them as well, heading into the round just a couple of weeks later. Yeah,
because you've got the it's in the Phillip Island round will be in May, and then obviously this will be in July, and then they'll be going into the August round will be the Sandown round. So a bit of an extra sort of thing that came up this year. Formula V normally run Club Championship over 6 rounds. Island Magic's included, as well as the 5 Victorian State rounds. And this year, if we end up with the 6 state rounds, there'll be a guaranteed 6 plus Island Magic and this extra one as well. So something a little bit different, I think, in regards to a response for more track time for a number of competitors. So I like that initiative. Great thinking by the Formula V Victorian members to put that on and allow a lot of the members that have been long-time members as well to race for free.
I heard Charlie Richardson say just before in that piece, she said, yeah, compared to go-karting, I'm hardly ever in the car. So yeah, good initiative from the V Association to put to take note of these comments and put extra events on for the category. Really, really good idea. So yes, make sure if you're enjoying the action to head down to Phillip Island when that event is on. It's all to play for further back down the field. Look at this battling, and there is Slattery. He's trying to make his way back through the field. Here comes another position. So Slattery's made his way up to 16th. Now make that 15th position.
Certainly is. There he goes. Zach Barton picked up a couple of spots there as well. He started rear of grid. He's rounded up Charlie Richardson and Josh Munro, so he's moved himself up to 13th. So very mature drive for his first weekend in Formula V. He's made a couple of rookie errors. We've seen him off the road in race 1 yesterday, and he was a non-finisher from race 2 this morning. So he's shown very, very wise head and just slowly moved his way through the field. But he's got a fair way to go to catch Damien Spinello, who's currently occupying the 12th position in this race. And Josh Munro, he's trying to put so many recent issues and gremlins behind him. Right now he's trying to keep something else behind him, and that's Adam Slattery. But I fear it will not be for very much longer, as right down the inside at turn 10, almost on cue, Adam Slattery takes a look and does not execute that pass.
Just looking out the window between the battle for second position, and they've closed up to the back of Rowe. Look, so McCarthy's gone. Now it's Rowe, Curran, Partridge, and then Collinson.
So here we have pass for Heath Collinson, it looks like, finally getting the job done on Nick Jones. Yes, indeed. Oh, Jones well wide. He missed the turning point almost completely there. And
dropped off the back of the pack as a result. So it's a four-car battle, but Jones isn't part of it now. Rowe, because they've all caught up to the back of Jake Rowe. So third in race 1 for Rowe, second earlier on today. He's hoping to finish second for the round, and will hope to do that with a second place finish in this one. But he's got Curran all over the tail at this point in time, and Partridge in there as well. Collinson seemed to have lost a bit of momentum. He soared right up to the back of them. Yes, he's got past Jones, but now he's got to catch up these 3 ahead.
He certainly does. Jake Rowe's going to have his hands full in these closing laps. He's got his hands full right now. Puff of smoke just going into turn number 11. Nothing too sinister there. Just got to get your exit right out of turn 12. It's a very short straight. We often remark that because this place is a little bit of an oddity compared to the fast and flowing nature of Phillip Island, where draft is at a premium, and Sandown, where it's essentially point and squirt, and again the draft down the front straight, the draft up the back straight, very, very powerful. You don't have that effect here. This is all about gearing the car and setting the car up for the turns, because that's where you make your time.
Absolutely it is. It's a very different sort of racing in V's at this circuit compared to what we see at the other 4 rounds, where it's slipstream city effectively down the straights. It's very rare that you see a dive bomb move under brakes. It's normally done on the straight before you get there, and that's what promotes such good racing that we've come to love in the Victorian Formula Vee Racing Series.
Still asking.
Here comes Collinson.
Here comes Collinson, you're right, and he's there or thereabouts on Lee Partridge, who left a little bit of room. He's going to make Heath go the long way around here, and still leaving some room to... I was about to say, I thought Collinson was almost off the circuit. He had a little bit of a moment of oversteer there. I think he was too wide, got into the marbles.
Exactly right, yeah, out in the marbles, couldn't keep it turning like he wanted, slid out wide, and lost a fair bit of momentum there. Hard to believe at this stage of the season Collinson's only scored a couple of top 3 finishes. Reigning champion, really struggling to find his feet early in the 2023 season, and his title rival of last year 7.2 seconds down the road in this one.
Yeah, I think Heath is now sort of out there for fun. I think he probably realises that after the shocker that was Sandown, it's going to be quite a stretch to wrestle his way back to the top of the point standings, and is really going to need some help from Reef McCarthy, mistake-wise or failure-wise or something like that, to really close the margin down. So I think he's just sort of out there just to do the best that he can in this particular season. It hasn't been the ideal start for the Collinson Black Angus number 31 driver, but he's still showing he's got plenty of fight here as well. Still attached to the rear gearbox of Lee Partridge heading into turn number 4. It looks like we're probably going to get another 2 laps in perhaps. Just waiting to see what the timing is, but we know that they've sort of been on that sort of fringe of, an extra lap or, cutting it a little bit of a lap short. We've completed 12 so far. This is lap 13, and I dare say we'll get probably 1 more after this.
Just looking at the live championship points, yeah, if Reef McCarthy takes the win and Collinson stays where he is, he'll be 91 points back with just 3 rounds to go. It's 100 points across the round if you win all 3 races, so he's almost a round behind with 3 rounds to go. Going to be awfully difficult for Collinson from here.
They'd be very, very difficult from Heath for Heath to really make a serious bid. There's the artshop.com.au entry. Nick Jones, he's definitely fallen off the back of this group after that little sort of moment a couple of laps ago when Heath Collinson got past him down here at turn number 11. We're staying with this group for the moment because actually the checkered flag's flown. So that was a completely unexpected call. I thought we were probably guaranteed for another lap there as McCarthy takes another win. It looks like they've called this one a little bit short, so that means Rowe has held on for position number 2, just ahead of Curran, Partridge and Collinson, all nose to tail at the checkered flag.
Yeah, just 0.7 of a second separating all 4 of those cars. So yes, Rowe with second does take second for the round. Curran coming home in 3rd, Partridge in 4th, Collinson in 5th and Jones in 6th position. So Partridge will hold on to 2nd in the series and slightly extend that margin over Jones.
Oh, a little bit of a late challenge here for Zach Barton. He's looking down the inside of Nick Kerr. Oh, some contact! And he's going to make the fence? No, he makes the pit lane almost. So that was a little bit clumsy, just as we were sort of singing his praises a little bit earlier on in the piece for a very, very mature drive. He tried to go for 1 position too many towards the end of that race and unfortunately has come unstuck.
Climbed over the back, didn't he? And unfortunately coming into the lane, probably unaware it's the final lap. Climbed up the back, that was certainly spectacular. 2 wheels in the air flying over the back of the car ahead, and yeah, it's certainly an interesting way to end their Formula V round, that's for certain. As you see the cars continue to cross the line, we continue to see Kerr and Barton fall down the field.
I'm wondering what happened to Nick Kerr. Because he hasn't crossed the line. He's been sinking down the order. So here we go. So you can see here, there's a little bit of a gap left, and then I thought, okay, Barton had cleared the move there, and then that collision happened. We're told Nick Kerr's actually stopped on the main straight, so that's why he's just gotten going now. So he's crawled to the line. So what was probably set to be probably a finish around 11th or 12th place for Nick Kerr, unfortunately has resulted in 20th with that collision.
Yeah, just a solitary point after all that effort. 25 minutes, it all comes to no avail. Contact at the final corner, but I suppose 1 point's better than none, but it's a small price to pay. Oh, what a shame, what a shame. Here's the results from the final Formula V race here at Winton this weekend. Reef McCarthy taking another dominant display, another dominant victory. 9.9 seconds down the road from Jake Rowe. Andre Curran rounding out the top 3 ahead of Lee Partridge, Heath Collinson and then Nick Jones. Ash Clifford, good recovery after difficulties in race number 2, finishes in 7th. Same with John Casamadi. Then 9 and 10, Ruben Patner and Brandon Taylor.
Well, that's the top 10 finishes from race number 3 there. You can see there's a handful of other drivers that crossed the line there as we wait and see the saloon cars getting ready to roll out for their 3rd and final race of the weekend. Very, very short break here and we shall return. So keep watching the Victorian State Race Series live from round 2 at Winton Motor Raceway. With thanks to 888 Home Loans, we will be back on the other side of this.